Ladies and gentlemen, let me ask you something that could change your life. What if your greatest superpower has been inside you all along, and all it needed was a switch to turn it on? Your mind is the most powerful tool you will ever own, but like any tool, it can build or destroy depending on how you use it. The thoughts you allow into your mind, the beliefs you repeat, the inner dialogue you entertain, these aren't just ideas floating through your consciousness. They're the blueprint for your life. What you think, you begin to feel. What you feel, you act on. And what you act on day after day becomes the pattern that builds your reality. That's why your thoughts are not harmless. They're the seed of every result you've ever created. They are either setting you up for success or silently sabotaging you every single day. When your thinking is negative, self-defeating, filled with fear or limitation, it becomes like a virus infecting your decisions, your confidence, your energy. You hesitate instead of leap. You complain instead of create. You fear instead of fight. And worst of all, you don't even realize it's your own thinking that's holding the chains. But when you flip that, when you start to think with purpose, with power, with clarity, you awaken something deep inside you. You stop reacting to life, and you start directing it. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and become the architect of your destiny. Now, this doesn't mean you ignore challenges or pretend everything is fine when it isn't. Positive thinking is not about being that RV or denying the storm. It's about choosing your response in the middle of that storm. It's about seeing the opportunity when everyone else sees the obstacle. It's about taking the pain, the fear, the failure, and turning it into fuel. It's about training your mind like an elite athlete trains their body, not for comfort, but for strength, for agility, for performance under pressure. Your mind can either be your cage or your wings. You decide. Let's bring this to life with a real-world example. Picture this: two people lose their jobs on the same day. Same industry, same pay, same city. The first person immediately spirals into negativity. I knew this would happen. The economy is crashing. No one is hiring. I'm too old to start over. What's the point? They spend their days complaining to friends, scrolling news that confirms their fears, and slowly withdrawing from action. Days turn into weeks, and nothing changes except their stress levels and their sense of hopelessness. Their mind, filled with negative beliefs, has become their prison. Now the second person, same exact situation, loses their job. But they take a breath, feel the hit, and then make a decision. They say to themselves, all right, this hurts, but maybe this is the reset I needed. Maybe this is the universe redirecting me to something better. I'm going to use this time to upskill, reach out to people, maybe even start that side business I kept putting that mindset. That's not luck. That's training. That's power. And within a few weeks, they've gained momentum, made connections, landed new opportunities, maybe even started building a life they actually love instead of the one they were settling for. So what was the difference? It wasn't the situation. It wasn't intelligence. It wasn't talent. It was mindset. One person used their mind to predict doom. The other used it to design possibility. One built walls. The other built doors. This is why your mind is a weapon. But you have to train it daily. You can't just hope for positive thoughts to show up when things go wrong. That's like expecting to win a marathon without ever practicing. You need to feed your mind with powerful beliefs, surround yourself with empowering voices, and catch those negative patterns before they spiral. You need to be conscious of the words you use, because your subconscious is always listening. Instead of saying, I'm not good enough, say, I'm getting better every day. Instead of, I don't know how, say, I'm learning how. These shifts may seem small, but they create a radically different emotional state. And from that state, you'll make radically better decisions. The truth is, life will never stop challenging you. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you think about what happens. And that right there is your power. That's the difference between those who are crushed by adversity and those who rise because of it. The battle is not out there, it's in your mind. And if you win that battle, you win everything. So ask yourself, what kind of thoughts are you entertaining every day? Are they building you or breaking you? Are they moving you forward or holding you back? If your mind is your weapon, are you sharpening it, training it, using it with intention? Or are you letting it run wild and wreak havoc? What you focus on consistently, you move toward, whether it's something you want or something you fear. Most people walk through life thinking they're reacting to the world around them. They believe the problem is out there, the boss, the job, the relationship, the economy. But the truth is your life is not shaped by your circumstances. It's shaped by what you focus on day in and day out. That's why energy flows where focus goes. Your focus is the steering wheel of your mind. Whatever you aim at, it expands. You focus on pain, you feel more pain. You focus on possibility, you find more possibility. Your life bends in the direction of your dominant thoughts. It's not philosophy, it's physics, it's neuroscience. And most importantly, it's your everyday reality. If you wake up in the morning and immediately focus on everything that's going wrong, the debt, the stress, the argument you had, the things you haven't achieved yet, your brain starts the day scanning for more problems. It's like giving your inner GPS the coordinates to negativity and then wondering why you keep ending up there. The quality of your focus determines the quality of your life. If you want to change your experience, you don't need to change your entire life overnight. You need to change what you're focusing on in this moment. The energy you bring to a conversation, a decision, or a goal starts with where you're putting your attention. Now here's the game changer. Focus is a choice. It doesn't always feel like one, especially when emotions are high or life hits you hard, but you can train it. You can build the habit of focusing on what empowers you, even when your environment gives you every reason not to. It's mental discipline. It's emotional conditioning. And like a muscle, the more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Let me give you a real powerful example. Imagine two athletes, both training for the same marathon. They're equally skilled, equally prepared physically. But one of them, every time the training gets hard, focuses on how tired they are. They think about the blisters, the heat, the pain. Their inner dialogue is filled with, "This is too much. I don't know if I can do this. Why did I sign up for this?" And sure enough, every mile gets harder. Their body tightens, their form breaks down, and they start slipping. Not because they're weak, but because their focus is weakening them. Now, the other athlete feels the same fatigue, the same pain, but they focus differently. They say to themselves, "This is what growth feels like. This is where champions are made, one step closer, one breath stronger." Instead of focusing on the discomfort, they focus on the goal. Instead of thinking about how far they have to go, they focus on how far they've come. And guess what? Their energy rises, their pace improves, their mindset sharpens, same body, different fuel. The only difference is focus. This is the same in every area of life. In business, relationships, health, you get what you focus on. If you focus on what's missing in your relationship, you'll feel disconnected. If you focus on what you appreciate, connection grows. If you focus on why the business might fail, fear grows. If you focus on how you can add more value, your creativity ignites. Energy follows focus like a laser beam, and wherever that beam is and cuts deep, it moves things, it changes outcomes. But here's where most people go wrong. They leave their focus on autopilot. They let the world decide it for them. Social media, news, toxic people, all of it grabs your attention and pulls it toward fear, drama, or distraction. And if you don't actively redirect that focus, it becomes your default. You start reacting instead of creating. You start surviving instead of thriving. This is why rituals matter. Morning routines, daily gratitude, intentional reflection. These aren't just feel-good habits. They are how you reclaim your focus. They're how you take back control of your mental energy. Every time you pause and ask, what am I focusing on right now? And is it helping me or hurting me? You take back your power. Because once you shift your focus, everything shifts. Your mood, your decisions, your momentum, they all follow. And let's be real, life will always throw distractions and challenges your way. But the strongest people aren't the ones with the easiest lives. They're the ones with the most powerful focus. They've trained themselves to zoom in on the outcome, the opportunity, the next right move. They see the same storm, but focus on how to sail through it instead of complaining about the waves. They get knocked down, but keep their eyes locked on the vision. That's what separates those who talk about change from those who live it. So ask yourself, where has your focus been? Are you constantly scanning for what's wrong? Or are you searching for what's possible? Are you dwelling on the past? Are you directing your attention to your future? Because wherever your focus goes, your energy follows. And wherever your energy flows, results grow. This isn't motivation for a moment. This is a way of living, a decision. Focus like your life depends on it, because in many ways it does. You want a new level of success. You need a new level of focus. You want to build the life of your dreams. Aim your focus like a weapon. Cut through the noise. Zone in on the mission. And when distractions come, and they will, you remind yourself, I decide what I focus on. I decide where my energy goes. I create the life I live. That is power. That is freedom. And that is the unstoppable force of a focused mind. Every single thing you've ever achieved or failed to achieve started with a belief. Before the action, before the momentum, before the result, there was a thought. A simple sentence in your mind that whispered, I can do this, or this isn't possible. Belief is not just some feel-good concept. It's the foundation of all progress and the ceiling of all limitation. What you believe about yourself, about the world, and about what's possible becomes the world you live in. Belief shapes your perception, and perception shapes your reality. Your brain is constantly scanning the world to confirm what you believe to be true. That's called confirmation bias. If you believe you're not smart enough, not talented enough, or not lucky enough, your brain will filter out the opportunities that contradict that belief. You'll overlook them, dismiss them, or even sabotage them, because your internal world doesn't match the external one, and your mind is designed to stay consistent with what you believe. On the other hand, if you believe that you're capable, that you're resourceful, that you're meant for more. Your mind becomes a heat-seeking missile for opportunity. You start seeing paths where others see roadblocks. You take risks others wouldn't. You persist when others would quit. That's not luck. That's belief in motion. Now, belief doesn't guarantee success, but it opens the door to it, because without belief, you won't even try. You won't take the first step. You'll talk yourself out of the game before you've even started playing. Belief doesn't mean you're arrogant or delusional. It means you're committed to the possibility. You're committed to the vision even before there's proof, especially before there's proof, because the world only believes in you after you've won. But you've got to believe before the scoreboard shows a win. Let's break this down with an example that speaks louder than theory. Picture a young woman named Sarah. She works a regular job, makes an average income, and deep down, she feels like she's meant for something more. She's always had a dream to start a wellness brand, to help people heal, to bring her vision to life. But every time she thinks about taking action, an old belief creeps in. I don't have what it takes. I'm not a business person. I'm not special. That belief, it's like a wall between her and the life she wants. So she stays stuck. She watches others chase their dreams. She scrolls social media and feels both inspired and defeated. And the dream lives on in her imagination, but never in reality. Now imagine this same woman has a moment, a shift. Maybe it's a conversation, a seminar, a book, or just one powerful realization. What if my belief is wrong? What if I've been living a lie I didn't choose? That spark leads her to take a small step. She writes a business plan. She designs a logo. She shares an idea online. People respond. Slowly, her confidence grows, not because she suddenly became more talented, but because she chose to believe. She starts building. She fails, she learns, she tries again. And over time, something incredible happens. She becomes the person her dream required. But it all started the moment she chose belief over doubt. This is how lives are transformed, not in one massive leap, but in the decision to believe in what can be, even when nothing in your current reality supports it. That's what belief is: vision without evidence, faith in motion. Belief is a seed that becomes confidence, becomes action, becomes identity, becomes result. You don't become successful and then believe. You believe first and success begins to follow. But here's the kicker. Most of the beliefs running your life aren't even yours. They were downloaded from parents, teachers, culture, media. They were formed in moments of pain, failure, or fear, and then repeated so often they became truth. But they're not truth, they're just repeated thoughts. And any belief that was learned can be unlearned. You can rewrite the code. You can replace "I'm not enough" with "I'm evolving every day." You can swap "I'm stuck" with "I'm just getting started." The shift doesn't happen when the world changes. It happens when your beliefs do. That's why the people who rise, who build empires, overcome odds, live fully alive. They don't have fewer problems. They have stronger beliefs. They believe in themselves even when no one else does. They believe in their mission even when the world laughs at it. They don't wait for permission. They give it to themselves. And through that belief, they unlock doors that others don't even see. Your beliefs are either your prison or your passport. And here's the truth most people avoid. If you don't intentionally choose your beliefs, you'll live by default ones that shrink you, ones that silence you. But when you choose, really choose, to believe in your potential, to believe that your life has meaning, to believe that your story matters, everything changes. You start attracting different people, thinking in different ways, making different moves. You don't just dream differently, you live differently. So ask yourself, what do I believe about myself, about my limits, about what's possible for my life? Are those beliefs empowering me or imprisoning me? Because you can't outperform your self-image. You can't build a powerful life from a foundation of doubt. But you can begin right now to upgrade your belief system. It starts with awareness, then repetition, then action, then momentum. Believe in the vision before it's clear. Believe in your strength before it's proven. Believe in the process before the results show up. And most of all, believe in yourself relentlessly, unapologetically, endlessly, because belief builds reality. And your future is waiting on what you decide to believe today. Because once you take full ownership of your thinking, you no longer wait for life to get easier, for people to change, for circumstances to be perfect. You become the source of your own breakthrough. You start making powerful choices, not excuses. You take the hits and keep moving. You become unstoppable, not because life is easy, but because your mind is strong. And that, my friend, is the ultimate power, not positive thinking as a fluffy idea, but as a force that forges champions. In a world that's constantly pushing you to chase more success, more money, more recognition, it's easy to fall into the trap of feeling like you're never enough, or like what you have is never quite satisfying. But there's a hidden power, a silent force that can instantly shift your entire state, redirect your focus, and unlock a deeper level of peace, drive, and fulfillment. That force is gratitude. Gratitude isn't just about saying thank you or posting a quote on social media. It's a state of being, a lens through which you experience life. It's the ability to pause in the middle of the chaos and say, even though things aren't perfect, I choose to see what's good. I choose to appreciate what I have right now, in this moment. And here's where the magic happens. When you shift into that mindset, everything changes. You stop operating from lack and you start living from abundance. Gratitude doesn't mean you settle. It doesn't mean you give up on growth or ambition. It means you fuel that growth from a place of fullness instead of emptiness. When you're stuck in a mindset of scarcity, thinking you don't have enough, that you're not enough, you start chasing success out of fear. You become reactive, desperate. You hustle for your worth. But when you ground yourself in gratitude, you become powerful. You act from confidence. You chase goals because you want to express more, create more, give more, not because you're trying to fix some imaginary hole inside. This shift is subtle, but it's everything. Think about it. Have you ever achieved something you worked hard for, and instead of feeling fulfilled, you immediately thought, what's next? That's the trap of ungrateful success. No matter how far you climb, it's never enough because your focus is stuck on what's missing. Gratitude is what breaks that cycle. It's what allows you to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. But more than that, gratitude has the power to transform pain. It can turn adversity into strength, loss into appreciation, setbacks into perspective. You cannot feel angry and grateful at the same time. You cannot be fearful and grateful in the same breath. Gratitude interrupts the patterns that keep you stuck. It's a psychological reset, a spiritual recalibration. Let me show you what this looks like with a story. There was a man named David, a successful executive in his late 40s. On paper, he had everything: money, status, a nice home, a family. But inside, he felt empty. He was constantly chasing the next deal, the next milestone, thinking that eventually he'd feel satisfied. But no matter how much he achieved, he felt restless, unhappy, like life was passing him by. Then one morning, everything changed. David had a health scare, a minor heart attack. It stopped him in his tracks. In that hospital bed, machines beeping, IVs in his arm, he had a moment of brutal clarity. What have I been doing? He realized he'd been so focused on what he didn't have, what he hadn't reached, that he'd ignored all the blessings right in front of him. His kids, who just wanted his attention. His wife, who missed the man she married. His health, which he had taken for granted every day until that moment cracked something open in him. When he recovered, he made a commitment not to work less or dream smaller, but to start feeling his life again. He began every morning with 5 minutes of gratitude. Just 5 minutes. He wrote down what he appreciated, no matter how small. His morning coffee, a smile from his daughter. A chance to breathe, to try again. That simple habit rewired his focus. He stopped seeing his days as checklists and started seeing them as gifts. And here's the crazy part: everything got better. His work improved. His relationships deepened. His energy returned. Why? Because gratitude shifted his emotional state. He stopped living in the future and started being present. He started operating from joy, not obligation. And that changed the game. That's the power gratitude holds. It's not just about feeling good. It's a strategic advantage. It sharpens your awareness. It strengthens your resilience. It lifts your spirit when life tries to drag you down. It reminds you that even in the middle of difficulty, there is still something to honor, something to hold on to, something to be thankful for. And when you can find that, you become unstoppable. Think about it. When you're grateful, you take better care of your body. You treat people with more kindness. You create from love, not stress. You attract more opportunities because people are drawn to your energy. Gratitude isn't weakness. It's a source of strength most people overlook. While others are consumed by what they lack, you're building momentum by appreciating what's already yours. It's not always easy. When life hits hard, when plans fall apart, when you're in the valley instead of the peak, gratitude might feel out of reach. But that's when it matters most. That's when it becomes a weapon, not to ignore reality, but to face it with a different spirit. Gratitude doesn't deny the pain. It says, even here, there's a lesson. Even now, I have something worth living for. So ask yourself, what are you focusing on right now? Are you counting problems or blessings? Are you complaining about what's missing or appreciating what's present? Because your energy will follow your answer, and your future will rise or fall based on the gratitude you bring into today. Start small, one moment, one breath, one truth. You're alive. You're capable. You've made it through things you never thought you would. And as long as you can find one thing to be grateful for, you have the power to shift your state, redirect your life, and unlock a deeper joy than anything out there could ever provide. Gratitude turns what you have into enough. And when you live in that energy, life starts handing you more. Not because you need it to be whole, but because you already are. Your mind is the most fertile, powerful ground you will ever work with. Every single thought you think is like a seed dropped into that soil. Some seeds are filled with growth, strength, confidence, and vision. Others are poisoned with doubt, fear, negativity, and self-sabotage. The truth is, you are planting seeds every day, whether you realize it or not. The only question is, what kind of garden are you growing? Most people spend their entire lives unconsciously sowing poison. They feed their minds with fear, base thoughts, limiting beliefs, toxic conversations, and constant comparisons. And then they wonder why anxiety grows, why insecurity multiplies, why they feel stuck or exhausted or overwhelmed. It's not random. It's the result of what's been planted, watered, and repeated. If you want to change the fruits, you've got to change the seeds. This isn't just motivational talk. It's neuroscience. Every time you repeat a thought, you're strengthening a neural pathway in your brain. The more you focus on a certain belief, the more automatic it becomes. So when you say things like, I always mess up, I'm not good enough, or nothing ever works for me, you're not just expressing a feeling, you're wiring your brain to expect and produce those outcomes. That becomes your garden, and your life becomes the harvest of it. But here's the most empowering part. Just as you've planted poison, you can plant power. You can start today, right now, to shift the entire landscape of your mind. It starts with awareness. You catch the toxic thought. You don't judge it. You just notice it. And then you make a choice. I'm going to plant something new. You replace I can't with I'm learning. You replace I'm stuck with I'm in a season of growth. You stop waiting for the weeds to magically disappear and start planting flowers every single day. Let me give you a clear example. There was a college student named Marcus. Bright guy, tons of potential, but paralyzed by self-doubt. Every time he had to speak in class or apply for something new, his thoughts would swarm. I'm going to mess up. I'm not as smart as the others. They're going to see right through me. Those thoughts weren't facts. They were seeds. But because he kept repeating them, his confidence wilted, and he started holding back from opportunities. Until one day, a mentor told him, your mind is lying to you, but you're still believing it. Start talking back. That hit him hard. So Marcus made a decision. For 30 days, he wrote down the lies his mind told him, and then he wrote the truth. Every morning, he read statements like, I'm improving every day. I deserve to take up space. I bring value wherever I go. At first, it felt awkward. Fake. But slowly something changed. His tone shifted. His body language improved. He started raising his hand. He started applying for internships. Why? Because his intelligence changed, but because his internal garden did. That's the invitation here, to become the gardener of your own mind. You don't need perfect conditions to start, just a little intention, a little awareness, a daily decision to plant thoughts of power, love, progress, and courage. Yes, the weeds might still pop up. That's normal, but now you've got a choice. You don't feed them. You don't let them spread. You pull them out and plant something better. Because at the end of the day, your life doesn't reflect your potential. It reflects your patterns. And those patterns begin with your thoughts. Plant wisely, water daily, and watch the world inside you and around you transform. Listen to me, the world will test you. Life will hit you. People will doubt you. But your thoughts, they're yours. Your beliefs, yours. And your mindset, that's your weapon. That's your shield. That's your superpower. So don't wait, don't hope, don't wish. Decide. Step into power. From this day forward, you choose a higher frequency. You choose growth. You choose to think with courage, with purpose, with fire. Because in the end, it's not just about thinking positive. It's about becoming the kind of person who creates miracles through mindset. This is your moment. Flip the switch and let the power of positive thinking unleash the champion inside you.